we are. We've just now arrived. Now, we bring you out here because it's the easiest way for us to introduce you to every fish all at once. It's a really spectacular view to see all of these thousands of animals in one area. Let's start with the apex predator. He just dashed out from underneath the submarine. It's a silverfish with electric blue fins. He's known as the bluefin trevally, or the omilu. He is so aggressive, he will literally chase sharks out of these waters. He uses the submarine as a Trojan horse. He basically hides beneath our belly, perfectly camouflaged, and as you see, oh wait, there's a large predator out there. Oh wow, what are those? What were those? They're very...
What was it? There may be...
Something really big was chasing it. Was that Ava? Was that milkfish? No. I'd never seen that fish before. They came dashing down and then they went back up into the water column. Lots of bluefin trevally, as I said. You see that they're hunting today. I don't know what those other two hunters were. Those are really big. So keep your eyes peeled for those guys because I'm sure they're still hanging around. As I said, the bluefin trevally will use the submarine as a Trojan horse. He'll be perfectly camouflaged beneath the surface of our belly. And when he sees something he wants to eat, you watch him, he'll dash out and go get it. One of his favorite foods are those yellowfish with the blue lines going down them. Those are known as blue line snapper, or sa'ape. Now the sa'ape were introduced into the Hawaiian waters roughly 50 to 60 years ago by some very short-minded ecologists who believed that the Hawaiian people needed a viable food source. I suppose it was because they hadn't been able to sustain themselves for the previous 10,000 years of their existence. However, these guys overlooked the fact that our waters are relatively cooler than those of Tahiti, where these fish originate from, and so they're stunted here in Hawaii. They don't grow big enough to create a viable food source. Plus, they don't last very long on ice. So here in Hawaii, we call them the potato chips of the sea, because you can't eat just one. You want to look for the brightest yellow fish that is out there on the oasis. It's in the shape of a Native American arrowhead, about the size of your palm. It is known as the lauipala here in the island. Lauipala translates to swimming tea leaf. It's commonly called the yellow tang. Folks, we used to have so many yellow tang in our waters that when the waves would crest, they would appear golden in color, and our town was given the name the Gold Coast many, many years ago. Unfortunately, as you can see from the oasis, we don't have that many yellow tang left. They are swimming gold, literally. One single fish can sell for $200 on the aquarium fish trade. The problem isn't that they are taken out of Hawaiian waters. The problem is 60% of them die as soon as they leave our islands. And so more and more have to be taken to provide for the demand. They became so depleted that the United States federal government declared the Bay of Kailua Kona and a lot of the coastline a fish replenishment zone where you can no longer feed, take, or remove any of the animals that we have down here. Did you know that 8 to 10 million fish are removed from the Kona coast waters every year to provide for the aquarium fish trade? That comprises 80 to 90% of all the fish you find available for sale around the world. The entire continent of Australia only allows 200,000 fish to be removed from their waters, so you see the magnitude of animals and creatures that are taken away from the islands every year.
We ought to get them somewhere else. Yeah, you're right.
big concentration.
This is one's escape. With kind of like a small. They call it. See.
Alright, we are making our way back to the living coral. Now that we've introduced you to some of those guys, we'll continue to identify some of the main species of fish we'll see throughout our dive. If at any time you have any questions about what you're seeing, please do not hesitate to ask either Keong or myself. We know everything, and if we don't, we never let the truth get in the way of a good story. As we come back to the living coral, let's go over some frequently asked questions that we get from our guests. Allow me to share with you one question that we get to hear every single week. We always look forward to it when it's asked is, does it get dark down here at night? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it does. Yeah. In case you were wondering, it does actually get dark when the sun goes down. Yeah, it happens. Another question that we get is, what color is the water here in Hawaii? Yeah, it's clear, like all water. Anyway, a really good question that you might be asking yourself is, where is all the color, speaking of which? Why isn't the reef bar more colorful? When I watch National Geographic and the Animal Planet, I see a beautiful, colorful reef on my television. Well, that's right, it's because it's on your television. Not everything you see on TV is real, folks. What these guys have done is they've gone down into the water column and they've taken huge lighting equipment and they've flooded the reef with artificial light. And then they put filters on the lenses of their camera to filter out this light that you're using right here. It's ambient ultraviolet black light. This is the same type of light you would find in a nightclub in New York City after midnight, or in your dentist office, or in your confused teenager's bedroom. This black light creates a different effect down here. It filters out some of the color that you're accustomed to using. The problem is that the water is too dense for the entire spectrum of sunlight to penetrate. At around 20 feet, the light gets separated, and certain colors get bounced back into the atmosphere. The first color that we lose down here is the color red. So, if you were wearing a piece of red clothing when you came on board, I need for you to take that off and pass it around so everybody can see how this process works. Or at least look at it and see that the red is now changed to purple. We've lost the color red completely, right? The colors orange and green have faded down. The color yellow or anything fluorescent has begun to glow at these depths. The color blue is the dominant color that we have in the water column. And what's that? What? How did the tires get down here? They were once used as bumpers on large boats. And then, you know, stormy waters just tear them off the sides and they settle onto the ocean floor.
Oh, okay.
Well, my pilot get my attention. He would like for me to remind you that once we go down past 100 feet, the color white will become clear. Look out there and see the two types of coral that we have. We have the little finger coral coming up from the ocean floor. Folks, if you took that back to the surface, it would appear blood red to your eyes. Now, the other type of coral looks like my grandmother's lumpy mashed potatoes. That's known as lobe coral. It would appear lime green on the surface. So that gives you some idea of how much color you've actually lost down here. You may ask yourself, well, why don't we just put big, huge floodlights on the outside of the submarine so we can bring everything to life? Well, there's two reasons for that. First of all, it's very expensive and very, very difficult to maintain those lights. We would have to jack up your ticket prices, and I know you don't want that. And number two, it actually is it actually disrupts the wildlife. They don't like to see those huge lights coming in. I'm pretty positive that if a giant ball of floating white light came into your house at night, that you would freak out and hide in the closet. And that's exactly what would happen to these fish and wildlife. We got some nice, sleek unicorn fish that are raining in here. These are beautiful little animals. Kind of reminds me of the fish that you drew when you were a child, just that oval with the triangle tail. Got some bluefin trevally going on the hunt. Folks, they're very aggressive hunters. They'll chase sharks out of these waters, as I said before.